All right, let's talk about building an AI agent. I mean, what does it really take to go from just an idea to a working piece of software? Well, today we're going to demystify that whole process. We're going to lay out a practical blueprint so you can build your very first one. By the end of this, you'll have a super clear roadmap to turn that concept into actual code.
You know the feeling, right? An alert jolts you awake in the middle of the night, and suddenly you're staring at a screen, just buried in a mountain of log files. You're desperately trying to find that one single line that tells you what on earth went wrong. It's frustrating, it's slow, and let's be honest, it's a terrible use of anyone's talent.
But what if there's a better way? Because there is. The old methods, just searching for keywords or setting up these really rigid rules, well, they're being replaced by an AI-powered approach. One that actually understands the context of what's happening inside your systems.
Think about it like this. On one side, you've got your traditional tools, things like Splunk or Elasticsearch, and don't get me wrong, they are incredibly powerful for searching and visualizing just massive amounts of data. But here's the catch. They're still limited to the rules and patterns you already know to look for. AI agents, on the other hand, can find issues you didn't even know you should be looking for. Why? Because they can understand relationships and learn from what's happened before.
And this diagram just breaks down that evolution perfectly. You start with basic scripts, which are simple, sure, but they break super easily. Then you have the traditional tools, which are way more robust but still bound by rules. But then you add AI agents. This new layer doesn't just find logs, it understands context, it connects the dots between events, and it can even explain the root cause to you. It's a total game changer.
So how does an agent actually do all that cool stuff? Well, it turns out that every intelligent agent, no matter how complex it seems, is built from the same 6 core components.
You can think of these as the ingredients in a recipe. You've got its role, that's its job description. Its tasks, what it's supposed to do. The tools, which let it actually interact with the world. Memory, so it can learn and remember. Guardrails, to keep it safe and on track. And finally, cooperation, which you use for more advanced, multi-agent systems.
Okay, so we've covered the what. Now let's get to the how. If you want to build an agent that's maintainable, scalable, and actually testable, you need a professional architecture. This 6-layer blueprint is that plan. This is really the heart of how you build your first components.
And this diagram shows the whole structure. See how user input doesn't just go straight to the AI model? No, it flows through the series of really well-defined layers. Each layer has exactly one job, and that separation is the key to avoiding a tangled mass of spaghetti code later on. This is what stops a cool little project from turning into a nightmare to maintain.
So here's the roadmap for our deep dive. We're going to walk through each of these 6 layers one by one. Configuration, the model wrapper, tools, agent orchestration, response utilities, and finally, the main entry point. Let's see how they all work together. First up, Layer 1, configuration. I know, it might seem a little boring, but getting this right is so critical. By loading all your settings from the environment and validating them right at the start, you prevent all those mysterious failures later on. If an API key is missing, you want the program to fail instantly with a clear message, not, halfway through a really important job.
Next up is Layer 2, the model wrapper. And you might be asking yourself, wait, why would I wrap an API that's already a wrapper? And the answer is one word: flexibility. What happens when tomorrow you decide to switch from one AI provider to another? Well, with this wrapper, you only have to change the code in this one single file. It completely future-proofs your agent and keeps all your settings, like temperature, perfectly consistent.
Layer 3 is where the agent really gets its power. We're talking about tools. Seriously, without tools, an AI model is just a chatbot. It can talk a good game, but that's it. But the moment you give it functions like read log file or search logs, now you've given it hands. It can now interact with its environment and perform actual, real-world actions.
And Layer 4, agent orchestration, is the brain that controls those hands. It's the conductor of the orchestra. It takes the user's request and coordinates everything. The AI model, all the available tools, the conversation memory, the system prompt, to put together an intelligent response. But, and this is a big but, building that conductor from scratch is a ton of work.
I mean, you'd have to handle the memory, figure out when and how to use tools, chain operations together. It gets incredibly complex really fast. And that's exactly where a toolkit like LangChain comes in. It gives you all the structured components you need to build that orchestration layer without reinventing the wheel.
So what is LangChain, really?
To put it simply, it's a framework that gives you all the building blocks for creating AI applications. It abstracts away all the boring boilerplate code for things like managing conversation history or calling tools, which means you get to focus on the unique logic that makes your agent special.
And just look at the difference here. On the left, if you're using raw API calls, you're responsible for everything. Managing state, parsing responses, handling all the tool logic. It can become a tangled nightmare. But on the right, with LangChain, you get a clean, structured way to define your prompts, your chains, and your tools. It makes your code so much more maintainable.
I absolutely love this analogy because it's just perfect. Yeah, sure, you could build a simple little agent from scratch. That's kind of like building a shed in your backyard. But for a robust, production-ready system, an actual house, you need a blueprint and a proper set of tools that all work together. LangChain is that essential structure.
So, we've designed our agent with a really professional architecture. We've got our tools picked out, but where does this thing we've just blueprinted fit in the grand scheme of things? Well, this agent is what we'll call a level 1 system.
And what's a level 1 agent? It's a system that reads logs, analyzes them, and answers your questions about them. That's it. It's simple, but it is incredibly valuable. Just solving that 3 a.m. log digging problem is a massive win, and it gives you this solid foundation you need to build more advanced stuff later on.
And this roadmap shows the entire journey ahead. We're starting at level 1, our basic parser. But from here, you can evolve to pattern recognition, multi-source integration, proactive alerting, and way beyond. Starting at level 1 isn't just the first step, it's the foundation for literally everything that comes next.
So let's just take a second and recap. We've gone from a really common, frustrating problem all the way to a complete, buildable solution.
You now get the key difference between those old rule-based tools and new context-aware agents. You know the 6 fundamental components that make up any agent. And most importantly, you have a professional 6th-layer blueprint to build your own. You know that LangChain makes that whole process easier, and you understand that this first agent is a super valuable level 1 system.
And that brings us to the final question, the one I want to leave you with. You have the blueprint. You understand the components and the tools. You've just built an agent that can analyze logs and save you from those 3 a.m. headaches. So, what problem are you going to solve next?